Morning guys, we've got an upper body session for you today. A1, A2. So A1 is negative dips. So you saw me perform dips on counter, the kitchen counter. You could do this between chairs, you could do this on rings if you have them, TRX if you have them. Anything that you can sort of get your hands on at the side of the body. I prefer to not do it behind like this. It's not great for the shoulder. You want to really have the hands sort of around the side or slightly towards the front if possible. But if you've only got something to do it off behind, then that's your call. So negative dips. Now what I want you to do is I want you to accumulate between 40 and 60 seconds of negative action. So what did I do? I did 5 10-second negatives, and that was one set. So I accumulated 50 seconds of negative action. So the negative tempo can be whatever you need it to be, and the number of reps can be whatever you need them to be, so that you're falling in the category of 40 to 60 seconds of negative action, okay? So that would be one set. We then moved on to a combo, so overhead to horizontal row. So you see me performing them with rings where I'm using my body weight as the resistance. So I'm in this position, I pull, and I finish in this kind of like body row position. So I'm moving from an overhead type pull-up position into more of a horizontal type body row position. You could do that with obviously rings because I use rings. You could use a band. You could use, that's probably going to be all you can use really for that. If you don't have access to either of those or you can't perform that movement, you've got the choice of just standard body rows, overhead banded pulls, use the towel again as we've been using for body rows or overhead pulls. You're going to do 10 to 15 reps of that, moving straight into what I call a Chinese plank. I've seen it called a few things online, where you're on your back, arms out, just slightly lower than a right angle, push your elbows into the floor, and squeeze your shoulder blades together and lift your back up off the floor, and then hold that position for 30 seconds. I find it if you put something under your elbows just to slightly elevate your arms off the floor, it gives you something to pull against and move up off the floor. I used yoga blocks, but you could just use catalogues or books or whatever you want, shoe boxes or something, I don't know. Hold for 30 seconds. You want to be pressing into your feet. It's very hard movement. It looks really simple, but you want to be lifting your body off the floor. So like here, the rest of your body's straight, and then you want to be pressing hard into the back of your heels as if you were trying to lift your butt off the floor. If you lift your butt off the floor, great. It's very difficult to do that, so don't worry if it doesn't lift off the floor, but be creating that kind of full body tension where the butt would be almost trying to lift off the floor if the strength was there. And we're going to go 4 sets of A1, A2. Moving on to B1 and B2. So we're going to go a pike press. So I'd recommend doing it hands on the floor, feet on the floor, just so you can focus on the tempo. You can go higher with your feet, but this tempo is probably going to be too hard for that. So you see me performing it in a down dog type position. The tempo is going to be a 5 down to the floor and then a 5 straight back up to locked out arms. No pausing if possible on either direction. So 5 down, no pause, straight back into 5 up, straight back into 5 down until you've done 6 reps. Maybe put a mat down to catch your head in case your arms give way. Then you see me perform a seated banded row. So I've fixed the band around the pedals on the air bike, but it could be around whatever you want, a sofa leg or a bed leg or anything. You could even get a partner to sit on a chair and you hoop it around a chair. And then, just rowing action, seated rowing action. Obviously you need bands for that. If you've not got bands, you may need to incorporate some more horizontal rowing with rings, or maybe with a dumbbell, or maybe with a light bar if you've got bars. And we're going 12 to 15 reps on that. So 6 reps on the pike press, 12 to 15 reps on the banded row, 4 sets back to back. Then we're moving on to C. C is a standing banded bicep curl. So I loop the band around both feet and put the band through itself, up into a standing position, and I just focus on one arm at a time, 12 reps, switch to the other side, 12 reps, and that could be 10 to 15, doesn't have to be 12. You've got the ability to vary the difficulty with the reps, also to vary the difficulty with how much tension you put in the band, depending on how you stand on it and how you loop it through itself. If you don't have bands, maybe you're gonna have to resort to dumbbell. Then the tricep exercise for C is you're gonna lie on your side. So if this side of the camera here is the floor, I'm gonna lie on my side. So the bottom arm, I'm gonna lift up off the floor so that my shoulder's the only thing on the floor. Grab my own lat or shoulder. Then this arm is the working arm, so this would be on the floor. And then I push my body off the floor, back down to the floor. So a few things. The closer your arm is to this elbow, the hand rather, the harder it is. You're pushing more of your weight off the floor. And the further the hand travels up this way, the easier the movement gets. Also on the way down, as you push off the floor, as you come back to the floor, make sure this shoulder is the first thing that touches the floor, and then the ribs, as opposed to just kind of pressing off and then slowly rolling the body all the way back to the floor. So yeah, shoulder is the first thing. So lift the ribs off the floor. The shoulder is lifted away from the floor, and then as you come back, shoulder's the first thing that returns to the floor, not the ribs or the elbow. Do that on both sides. Very, very difficult. If you want to make that a little bit easier, as you're laying on your side, obviously you've got the ability to move the hand here. The top leg, if you send the top leg out straight, you can't see on this video, but if you send the top leg out straight, that creates a little bit more of a counterlever. So it kind of encourages a little bit more body weight this side, and it helps you lift the upper body off the floor a little bit. So just bear in mind what that top leg's doing. If you've subconsciously extended it, you are making the movement easier. And then we move on to a shoulder exercise. So it's a door frame lat raise. So if this was the door frame here that I'm in, I'm gonna put my arms against the outside of the door frame, push as hard as I can into the door frame with my elbows, count for a 6 second, use the tempo counter, 6 seconds on, 6 seconds off, 6 seconds on, 6 seconds off. And I do 10 rounds of 6 seconds on, 6 seconds off. And that's one set. And then that 3 exercise circuit we perform for 4 rounds, and that's your C section. So yeah, have a go. Let me know how you get on. Let me know if you're struggling with exercise variations. I'm providing alternatives to a lot of similar movement patterns. So some of it's to demonstrate the fact that the same movement patterns can be performed with different bits of kit. I'm also trying to throw in more bits and bobs that don't need kit. So yeah, if there's something here you can't do, that's fine. Just go back to one of the previous workouts where we've perhaps used a different exercise, working the same body parts, and just substitute that exercise into this workout. Let us know if you've got any questions. Here's the demos.